Hi everyone! Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I hope you are all having a wonderful day so far. So each week I try to plan my meals in some way at the start of the week. And when I first got married, I used to meal prep everything on Monday so that I wouldn't have to cook for the rest of the week. I didn't really enjoy cooking back then, and the lifestyle I was living didn't really leave much time for it either. But over the last couple years, I've completely fallen in love with from scratch cooking and fresh food. And I think the biggest reason for that is just because I really had to start taking care of my health. I went through a couple years of chronic fatigue and just feeling really exhausted all the time. And food was a way that I began to really heal myself. So these days, instead of full-on meal prepping, I've been focusing more on meal planning. At the beginning of the week, I just take a look at what I have in my fridge and find a few recipes that fit with those ingredients, and then get groceries for anything else that I need. And I love this way of cooking because it gives me the freedom to be creative throughout the week and try new flavors and different things. But with that being said, there are a few staples that I've started prepping at the beginning of the week. I've been doing this for like the past couple weeks now, and it's made such a difference, especially for like snacks or when I just need to throw something together quickly while still keeping everything from scratch. So I really want to stay consistent with this routine, especially with the baby on the way and life is about to get a lot busier. So today I am starting with just some simple sandwich bread as well as a few sub loaves for my husband's lunches. I'll link all the recipes I use in the description below, and I'm also going to link the flour that I use. It's from a company called Our Father's Foods. It's based in Ohio. They don't use any heat or chemicals or preservatives, so the grain is like able to retain its natural enzymes. Their website has a lot more information about the process, but I've personally found it much easier to digest. So if you have trouble with gluten or just want a healthier option, it might work well for you. And for my sugar, I use monk fruit sweetener. It tastes just like sugar in my opinion, and it doesn't affect blood sugar in any way, so it's a great alternative to regular or white sugar. And for my sandwich bread, I went ahead and doubled the recipe so that I could give a loaf to my friend and still have enough for us at home. And then for the sub loaves, I ended up adding about 2 extra cups of flour on top of what the recipe calls for. So keep that in mind if you decide to try that recipe yourself. The sub loaves need to rest for about an hour, and so does the sandwich bread. So while those are resting, I am attempting to make mayonnaise. I made it once before and it turned out terrible. And I think it's because I used an oil that had too strong of a flavor. So I'm giving it another try today. All you need is an egg, Dijon mustard or regular mustard, a lemon, vinegar, and a neutral oil, and some salt. And I've seen most people use an immersion blender, but since I don't have one, I just use what I have. And I'm not exactly sure what went wrong with it this time, but the texture definitely didn't turn out like mayo. But with that being said, it actually did taste really good, so I will be using it. also making some cream cheese zucchini muffins today. I've had so much zucchini coming in from my garden lately, and so I wanted to test out this recipe to see if I like it enough to make like a big batch for the freezer. I'm always looking for good postpartum snacks or meals that I could freeze, and muffins like these are just so easy to grab, and I'm sure they would be so helpful through like postpartum. So now, aside from the one pan of muffins that I accidentally burnt, I can say they turned out so delicious. I'll definitely be using more of my zucchini to make like a huge batch to freeze. So the recipe that I followed originally makes about 10 muffins, and so I doubled it, but after salvaging like what I could from the burnt pan, I ended up with about 14 good muffins, so still a win. But if you want to try the original 10 count batch, you'll need to for the dry ingredients, you'll need 1 1/2 cups of regular flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon powder, and then 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg powder. And then the wet ingredients, you'll need 1/2 cup of vegetable or olive oil or whatever you use, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/2 cup of white sugar, 1 large egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then 1 1/4 cups of the grated zucchini. Mix that all together, and then for your cream cheese filling or topping, you'll need 1 brick of cream cheese, and make sure that it's soft so that it blends well. And then you'll also need 1 egg yolk, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 3 tablespoons of white sugar. These muffins are such a great treat, and they would also be such a great snack like during the fall or winter with that nutmeg and cinnamon. So I'll link the full recipe below if you want to try it for yourself. The bread and the muffins are almost done at this point, but lastly, I'm just quickly going to be prepping some fridge pickles. I've had quite a few cucumbers coming in from the garden lately, and I really enjoy fridge pickles. They're so delicious. I love how they still have that fresh crunch while giving you like all the flavors of regular pickles. So for the brine, all you need is 1 cup of vinegar, 1 cup of water, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of salt. And then just slice up your cucumbers either into spears or round slices, whatever you prefer. And then add some fresh garlic and fresh dill to your jars. Fill up with brine to the top and then let them cool. And once they're cooled down, just pop the lids on, stick them in the fridge, and in about 24 hours, you'll have fresh pickles ready to enjoy right away. I also wanted to give a quick update on what I've done so far with the produce from my garden. So I've had a ton of banana peppers, which I went ahead and canned the majority of those. And then for my zucchini, we eat a ton of it fresh with like steak or pasta, or yesterday I even blended it with some tomato soup, which was so tasty. But I will be grating a lot of it and freezing it for those muffins, zucchini bread, and for like cooking like in soups and stews and things like that. And then I also canned my beets, and I actually created a downloadable PDF for the recipe my mom taught me for canning them. I couldn't really find anything quite like her method on Pinterest or anywhere else, so I decided to write it out myself and link it down below for you guys. They're those Amish church beets, and so they're so good and sweet and full of flavor. So I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. And while I was doing all this prepping, my husband was actually cleaning some strawberries. We got a bunch of free strawberries from a local farmer's market. They were about to toss them out because they were starting to go bad, but we were able to save quite a bit of them. So we're just throwing them in the freezer for now, and once we have some time, we'll figure out what to do with them. Maybe we'll make some jam, or my husband mentioned wanting to try to make some strawberry wine, so we'll see. Either way, it's so nice to have some fresh strawberries stored away for later. But with that being said, thank you so much for joining me today as I prep this food, and we'll see you next time.